Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to another Lore for Noobs. I usually call it. I don't really know the actual series name. I guess it's that, but either way, this is where I ask Noble questions about the lore. And here's Noble.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
See, that's my intro. That's where I stick it with, right? That's the clean. That's the clean one. People love it. They're like, oh my, he said the thing. He said the thing.
Yeah. No, you got your thing. Mine's more the outro, because I'm like, see ya. Or the okay.
I stole that from you.
Dude, I'm gonna take you to court.
You can't hold it against me. No evidence.
Can you imagine an actual court case where I'm just like, he stole the way I go do my outro?
I've been checking out drama channels on YouTube. There are a lot of court cases out there. Let me tell you.
You know, that is
There was one of a lady who was being, there were like teenagers calling her a Karen, and so she took the park to court for not dealing with it.
Yeah,
that's like, let me pull the ultimate move.
I mean, listen, if you got enough money, you can really sue anybody for anything.
That's for sure.
Really, it's all about having money. But we don't really have that. So
We're YouTubers.
Yeah. Well, there's YouTubers that have money, but we're not doing the YouTube videos that make money. Those are the ones where they're just like, you won't believe that I spent 8 hours breaking into private property and staying there. And then it's like some crazy Mr. Beast thumbnail. So
I don't know. I've heard that there's like this fantastic product on the market. It's like Crendor coffee. I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people should know about this product.
Oh yeah, the Dodger coffee midnight sloth roast, but
the Dodger coffee midnight sloth roast. That's the one. That's exactly the one.
It's really good.
Where could they get this? Weird.
They'd probably just search Dodger coffee in the internet. You'd find it. It's crazy. As well as various things like crensloth.com, and you know, there's so many things you can find.
The most comfortable pajamas you can ever find. Like, no joke. I actually had a set of your Crendor pajamas. They were actually fire.
Well, technically, they're just sweatpants, but you can use them as either pajamas or out in public. I wear them out in public quite often.
We're close, to be honest. I work from home. I can do this.
That's true. So anyway, this is a long-running series where, I fly into the void, where I usually ask you just various questions about the upcoming lore, and then try to get caught up and have some semblance of what I'm playing through, or you know, the lore, because I'm really bad at keeping up with lore stuff, and you're not.
And that's where I come in. I mean, I try. You know, the modern day, I very much try. But yeah. How much of the story have you actually been keeping up with the war within at all? Like, have you do you know how it ended, or?
I know. I've seen things and I kind of know things, but I don't. If I had to take a test on it, I would not do well. So just give me like a brief catch up of like, just a brief rundown of what we've been through with the war within.
Okay, purely on the war within, a brief rundown is that we had this song coming out of Azeroth called the Radiant Song. And everybody was freaking out because all of a sudden a voice in their heads and they're like, what is going on? So we spoke with a couple of people, and some thought that this big devouring void creature was coming called Demencius. But others who spoke directly to Azeroth, they were told, like, look, we need to go to Kes Algar, this whole brand new continent. Something is happening there. We're not exactly sure what's happening, but that's where we need to go. We went there and we immediately found out, like, okay, we kind of messed up. Because infiltrated amongst the ranks was our big baddie called Zolotov. And Zolotov has been around since like Legion with the artifact, and then we helped her get a form, a body in Battle for Azeroth, and then she gave us to N'Zoth, and she was like, I'll see you guys later. And then turns out it was right, we will see each other later. And Zolotov is the big threat. She is coming for something. She wants something, and we're trying to figure out, like, okay, what is it that she wants, and how do we stop her? And so, as we teleported to Kesogar, very similar to how we teleported in Legion to the Broken Shore, we now teleported to Kesogar, only this time Zolotov knew what was up. Portals open up all around us, her Nerubian allies, the spider creatures pop out, they start kidnapping civilians, everything is hitting the fan, and not even Khadgar, our mighty, powerful mage Khadgar in Dalaran is able to stop her, because around Zolotov's neck is a trinket called the Dark Heart. And with it, she can absorb a whole bunch of power and turn it into the voids, including the powers in Dalaran, including Khadgar's magics. All Khadgar can really do at that point is teleport us away and go down with the ship. So Khadgar's eaten, and Dalaran is blown up, and that is how our adventures in the War Within started. Not exactly on a heroic note, not exactly doing well, but you know, as we do, we pick ourselves up, we get to work, and we make some new friends.
Mm-hmm.
On Kezelgar, we met the Irvin, and the Irvin are kind of like dwarfs. They are left behind there by the Titans, the ones that like once upon a time they like shaped the planets, and they were given a task to do. And their task was to maintain like the core way, this pathway into Azeroth itself. And during their duties, they had to like upload the memories and rejuvenate themselves. But a long time ago, that system got broken. And now the Irvin, they couldn't use those machines, and they were slowly dying. They were unable to upload the memories, so like the hard drives were getting full, and things weren't going well. And some of them were like, okay, you know, we were planted here by the Titans. We were given this mission, but no word from the Titans anymore. And some started to lose faith, and they were like, you know what, we don't have that much time to live anymore. I'm going to step away from the task of the Titans. Whereas others, they were like, nah, the Titans are superior. We need to hold on to the will of the Titans. And some were like, you know, I see things are changing, but I still kind of want to uphold my duties. And so we saw like this fracture amongst the Irvin. We come in, we learn about their lifestyle. We learn that Zalatav has like destroyed the core, and she wants to prevent us from going after her. The Nerubians are on the attack, so we make friends. We kick some Nerubian butt, and we clear the core way, and we go down below chasing after Zalatav. In the second level, that's like the Ringing Deeps, we learn more about the Irvin troubles, and again, we deal with those troubles, like we stop Zalatav's manipulations. Further down, we go into Hollowfall, where there's this beautiful big crystal in the sky that turns from like light to dark, and we meet these half-elf, half-humans, the Arafi, which is a whole story on its own, but we help them out with their problems, and we make them friends and allies, and we deal with the darkness. But all the while, Zalatav is still whispering, is like, ha ha ha, I'm still gonna do my thing. So down we go into Ashkahet, the last major leveling zone where the Nerubians are waiting for us. And of course, we want to stop Zalatav. We want to stop her allies. But it's easier said than done, because they got like the blood of the old gods empowering them. And these are Nerubians. They're very powerful. This is where the first raid happened. So we went in and you know, we took care of the queen. But we still had to stop Zalatav for what she was trying to do. And what she was trying to do was drain the powers out of the big crystal. So everything we've done so far, from getting the Irvin to the Arafi to robots and everything else, we throw it out on the battlefield. We fight against Zalatav, and we actually manage to damage that trinket that she had, that's like absorbing darkness and void and all that. We managed to damage it, and even though she yelled very loudly like, "This will change nothing," it changed everything, because now she had to come up with a different plan.
Yeah.
The trinket was once upon a time made with the help of the goblins, so who better to ask for help in fixing it than the goblins? So that is how they connected the storyline to Undermine, like the capital of the goblins, where we saw the quite unexpected return of Gallywix. And I'm personally of the mindset that the story of Undermine was actually meant for a different expansion for Battle for Azeroth, but that's personal interpretation. Either way, in short, Zalatav once again is whispering behind the leader, Gallywix in this case, who has taken over, and we ally with all the different goblin cartels to rise up against Gallywix and his black blood weapons, and we murder him. We just kill him in the raid, and the robot falls on top of him, and we just murder Gallywix. So that's done. They did manage to fix the Dark Hearts, but it didn't get back into the hands of Zalatav. She was actually betrayed by the Ethereals, and the Ethereals are like they're the mummy creatures from the Burning Crusade, you might remember, with like bandages around them.
Yep.
They betray her, they steal the Dark Heart, and she's like, "You gave it to the Ethereals!" It's like, how could you? And Gallywix was like, "Oh, I thought that they were with you." But they weren't. The Ethereals are now on the team of Dimensius the All-Devouring, that big void creature that I spoke about at the beginning, that they were afraid it was coming for Azeroth. Turns out that Dimensius is indeed coming back to life, and now we have to work together with Zalatav, because Zalatav, this is the whole story. Are you ready? Are you still with me?
I'm still with you.
Cool, right. rewind time a little bit. So, in the Burning Crusade, you learned about the Ephedials. And you learned that the Ephedials, that their home world was destroyed by Demencius. You might remember actually having a quest way back when, where we took on Demencius, all the way back in the Burning Crusade. And now we learn more about the Ephedials' history, where we learned that Zolotov had a part to play, and we learned that some of the leaders amongst the Ephedials had a part to play, and we learned that some of them are still severely loyal to Demencius, and they want to bring him back. So that's what they use the Dark Heart for. Like the power that Zolotov scattered, it's been stolen away. They're using it to bring back Demencius. And in the past, Zolotov had actually worked with the Ephedials to get away from Demencius. She had no intention of being his harbinger for all time. She betrayed him. So you can imagine that Zolotov is not exactly happy for Demencius to come back. That wouldn't be the best situation. So she offers, let's work together. And at first we're like, yeah, but Zolotov, you're going to betray us. But of course, we're going to work together against the big bad. And of course, Zolotov betrays us. She did help us take on Demencius and suck up his essence in the Dark Heart again. So the day is saved. Fantastic. Well done. But she also betrayed us. And she promised Illyria, Windrunner, that, she's going to come for everything that she loves next. So now we basically start Midnight where we started the War Within. So we have a Zolotov. And we have that she has the power that she needs, and she's coming for the world soul of Azeroth. That's basically her goal. She wants the world soul for some reason. And that in a nutshell is what happened in the War Within.
Okay. So I have some questions. All right.
Yeah.
So my first of which, I guess you did kind of mention that you don't really know, but I was like, because why does Xal'atath want all this power? Is she just like, I just want power for some reason? Because usually there's like some sort of driving factor behind all this, right? Like, what is her thing that makes her want to do this?
It's still unexplained. They gave us a cinematic. They've actually given us 3 cinematics. One about Liadrin, one about Arator, and then one about Zolotov. And the one about Zolotov goes into her history. And it's still very vaguely described. Once upon a time, the way that it's portrayed, if you haven't seen it, is there's like this baby on the planet, this child, a bald baby. And
I have seen the baby, but I haven't seen the thing.
Highly recommend to check it out. It's actually really well done.
All right.
And it looks like she is connected to the light, maybe, and that she embraces the void, and she talks about, survival is everything. So it could be that she just wants to consume everything and just wants to make everything void. Could be. I personally would find it a really boring motivation. Like, she just wants to destroy everything. That's boring. More interesting would be maybe if she's like Illyria. So Illyria Windrunner is an elf, and she has embraced the void as well. And she's using the void to actually save her son and her husband and her loved ones. What if Zolotov once upon a time embraced the void like Illyria, but over time she became more and more consumed or corrupted by it? Or what if she's... have you seen For Love and Thunder?
No.
The movie? There's like a God Slayer character in there. Basically, there's this guy that's worshiping the gods, and his child dies, and he actually meets the gods, and the gods just laugh at him like, "What do you mean? We don't care about you. You're just a peasant mortal." And then there's this sword who whispers to him, is like, "Hey, listen, right? If you pick me up, I will let you kill all the gods that you want," and he does. So what if Zolotov is like, once upon a time there were light worshippers, and the light abandoned them or failed them, and the void whispered to her, is like, "Hey, if you pick me up, I will let you kill all the light that you want." I'm just saying, like, there's a million and one motivations and reasons we can give to Zolotov right now. My fear is that when they give her the motivations, that is not gonna land. But that is, until they tell the story, that's very hard to judge.
Yeah, I would say that's probably my concern as well, because it's like, especially as of recently, where we had things like Shadowlands and stuff like that. I think people are hoping, like, all right, this is gonna be the turnaround. Like, Blizzard is gonna have like this really cool villain. She's gonna have really cool, some drive behind her. Where you're like, damn, okay, I understand this. Instead of just like, I'm evil,
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah. And the parallels with the Jailer and the Shadowlands are, very clear. Like the Jailer also wanted Azeroth's soul and was coming for it, and maybe like he wanted it to rewrite reality. Is that what Zolotov wants to do? I will say the big differences between the Jailer and Zolotov is that Zolotov has been built up since the Burning Crusade, since Legion. Like she's been around much longer. She's a lot more history. She's a lot more character, a much more interesting being, as well as she likes to show her feet a lot more, which a lot of people appreciate. It's always a bonus point.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the potential, a lot more potential, to actually have it land and be cool. But I will say that like, the War Within, she's kind of been dragging us along, going like, you'll never catch me. And it's like, okay, you could do that for an expansion, but at some point I want to get those answers, right? I want to know what she's about, and it's you can only dangle something in front of you for so long, and I do hope that Midnight is going to give us some of those answers.
Yeah, unless it's the feet that are dangling, in which case, people will love that for forever.
Very true.
So, I know you mentioned that you think the goblin stuff was meant for like BFA or something. So why do you say that? Because that's one I actually did play through, and I actually did do the story because I loved Undermine. That was like one of my favorite things about this entire expansion was Undermine, and so like it was all about the uprising, right? And then Gallywix and stuff. So why do you say that?
Okay, so why I say that is because back in Battle for Azeroth, Gallywix was a big prominent feature of the storyline. Like he was part of the Horde campaign, he was part of Team Sylvanas up to the point where he was like burning papers in Orgrimmar, and then he just kind of disappeared. And the next time that we saw him was in the Shadowlands with a random ass cameo. It's like, oh, okay. Here in the War Within, wow, it's really cool to see Gallywix again. They don't explain the path between him and the Shadowlands and the path and him now taking over this Undermine. It's more like, oh yeah, Gallywix is back. So, okay, how? So imagine a world in which he left Orgrimmar because, Sylvanas was no longer the war chief, and instead of just disappearing out of the story, he actually went and took over in Undermine. A big part of the story in Undermine was how they have new weaponry with the Black Blood. But what if we imagine that weaponry was actually Azerite? Because back in Battle for Azeroth, Azerite was going to be changing the warfare in Azeroth, and it was going to be the biggest weapon ever, and it kind of just fell away after the first patch. With it being Azerite, it would make Azerite being a lot more prominent, as well as his death at the end in the raid would then flow much more nicely in his cameo in Shadowlands, because like, oh yeah, he died in Undermine. As well as the overarching story in Undermine. While I love going through the capital city, I really enjoyed the campaign. What did it have to do with the World Soul Saga? Besides the part where they connected the Dark Heart to, she had to repair it, so the goblins repaired it for her. That's the very loose connection to the World Soul Saga as a whole.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what happens in Undermine has nothing to do really with Zolotov's story or the World Soul Saga.
That is true. I mean, thinking about it, there was never really points where I was playing through Undermine where I was like, oh yeah, Xalatath is influencing all this right now. Like it really just felt like it was its own thing.
Yeah, and that's fine, mind you. That's absolutely fine. It's more like how do you connect this to the storyline? And what I felt from people, and I kind of wonder if this is true. And for the record, by the way, I'm not saying like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever that they did this. It's really smart to reuse assets. Same with the Siren Isle. If you could take an unused island expedition and turn it into content, yeah, by all means, go for it. It's more in the direction of, I've had feedback from people that felt like, Nobbel, we started this World Soul Saga, we've met the Irvin, and they have no part to play anymore. Thrall suddenly vanished out of the story, Anduin is not doing anything anymore, and now we're dealing with the goblins. Like, how is this connected to the story? And when your answer is, oh yeah, we needed them to repair the Dark Hearts, there's a flimsy connection there. So it's more in the direction of, okay, why exactly did the story play out as it did? And then also, Karesh with like the ending there, it feels very much like we're back at the start of the War Within, as in Zolotov is coming for the soul of Azeroth, and Illyria is very upset at her. It kind of feels that what we did in the War Within, while a great adventure, for the overarching story of the World Soul Saga, it kind of feels like we rotated back to where we began.
Yeah, that, almost like we just didn't even need that. We could have just started right here. Like,
yeah, and that might have to do on a more cosmic, on a more meta storytelling. Like we know that Metzen, when they were working on the War Within, we know that Metzen joined the team, and he came up with so many ideas that they expanded it into 3 expansions. They turned it from 1 into a World Soul Saga. So, for example, in Midnight, we're going to be dealing more with the Haranir. The Haranir are this new race introduced in the War Within, and their story was supposed to play out in the War Within. So we can already tell that certain puzzle pieces of the storyline have been shifted around in order to make it a World Soul Saga, in order to expand it. With that in mind, did they also shuffle in something like Undermine again?
Yeah.
For the record, I have no idea, and does it really matter? Nah, it was a fun adventure, but it's more like, how does it connect to the overarching story?
Yeah, exactly. Especially when that's supposed to be like part 1 of the 3-part story, right? I also wanted to bring up, in kind of relation to that, the Arathi, because I know the Arathi weren't well received from what I've read, and I believe you also were kind of like, from what I remember at least. And I never really played the Arathi thing. I didn't really have the drive to do it, to be honest, but the only thing I remember is I did some questing in Hallowfall, and then I would log in and hear, like, I understand your frustration, Gaora. And I was like, dude, shut up. And then they finally gave you the thing to allow him to shut up. So can you do a brief Arathi rundown?
Okay, so there's 2 parts to this. And everybody's going to have their own opinions. For me, the introduction of the Arathi in Hallowfall, I was actually super excited. When they announced it, when they introduced it, I was like, okay, there's a lot of interest here. And then the second part, where you're talking about that voice line, that is called like the Red Dawn quest line. I think the patch is like Pride of Arathi. And unfortunately, the thing that goes viral is an in-between patch. And for me, it's some of the worst storytelling that they've ever done in Warcraft.
Yeah.
And that sucks, because there's also some of the best storytelling that they've done. So the Arathi, for those that are completely unaware, in Hallowfall, we meet the Arathi that have gone there on an expedition. And they tell us, like, okay, we went here because our emperor has these visions of the light. And when he has these visions, as book described to us, he can choose to either make those visions come true or actively work against them. Like, ooh, that's interesting. He is manipulating the future based on visions from the lights. Okay. And one of his visions was that the Hallowfall expedition had to go here. So they set sail, they got caught by a storm, the light teleports them right in front of Beledar as their emperor had foreseen, and now they're there. Their landing into Hallowfall wasn't exactly gentle. Their ships crash into the walls, they nearly lose their sacred flame, but thankfully there was Faryn Lofar, and Faryn was a child that snuck on board of the expedition, and she managed to save the flame at great cost for herself. I believe she lost an eye, she lost an arm, but at least the sacred flame to her people was saved. So here we have the Arathi Empire that needs to set up base in Hallowfall. They need to defend themselves against the fish that are there. I want to say Cobalt, but no, I think something else. But also like the Nerubians down there. And at first they have Beledar shining above them, all bright, all light, all great. But when Sargeras stabbed the world at the end of Legion, the blood of the old gods started to move around, and it started to shift into that Beledar, into that dark star. For the longest time, we've been wondering, like, okay, what exactly is Beledar? And there was a lot of speculation about it being a Naru crystal. They even have like old concept art that says it's a Naru, but that's been changed. They now describe it as like a calcified piece of Azeroth's world soul. There's more. I don't know. There's more pieces. Right. Either way, it shifts between light and dark, and that's the power that Zolotov wanted to drain at the beginning. So we go into Hallowfall, and Enduin walks in there, and Enduin has this story where he has trauma from the Shadowlands, and he has a fear of connecting with the light. But Faryn Lofar helps him take those steps back into reconnecting with the light. And together, we uncover that in the darkness of Beledar, there's like cults rising up, so we stop those cults, right? We stop Zolotov's plans, and with the aid of Faryn, we go down below. And I really like that introduction, because I was like, oh, cool, there's like this empire out there, I wonder what the Emperor's like. And there was a storyline with Faryn, where you gotta imagine, like, there was not supposed to be a child on this expedition. What could push a child in order to join a dangerous, life-threatening expedition? What must her family be like? She has the last name of Lofar, Enduin Lofar, amongst our human kingdom. It was a great hero of the Alliance, and he earned his stripes. And what a lot of people feared was that because they gave Faryn the name Lofar, it's like, oh, she's gonna ride the coattail of Enduin Lofar's legacy, right? But instead, we actually got like a stay a while and listen, where she was like, oh, you all got a Lofar as well? That's cool. Moving on. Like, there wasn't I am an Enduin Lofar. No, it's just I am Faryn Lofar.
Yeah.
So I was actually really excited about those first steps, and I was wondering where it was going. And then we learn more, and then we get into like the Pride of the Arafi questline. So the idea of, okay, why did Farron join the ship was because she heard a magical voice. Her family lineage is connected to somebody who heard like a voice of a deity, like a light being, a super duper hero. And think Frozen 2, where she hears a voice to go back on an adventure. There was also a voice that told Farron, like, you should totally climb on board of that ship. So, okay, well, that kind of went away. All right, cool. So she is destined to be there. All right, cool. And then they take Farron and they put her out on the first mission ever. And they put her out in that quest line where in the Arafi Highlands, we have the Magar orcs, the uncorrupted orcs that were recruited from alternate Draenor as an allied race. They've set a base there. And you've got the humans of the Arafi. And they already did this storyline in one of the audio written versions. So there was already tension there. And they already kind of resolved that with Jaina and Thrall. This was during the time they were getting like troops there to help us out. And they resolved it by putting Trollbane's niece in jail. And they were like, okay, you are creating trouble between the humans and the orcs. You're trying to get like a Red Dawn organization going. You're going to go in jail. We're going to stop you. That was resolved in the books. I need to take a sip to drink.
I fell. I need to release my spirit.
Right?
Perfect timing.
There we go. So we go back into it in game and basically play through it again. And turns out that the tensions between them haven't resolved quite yet. From jail, she is still manipulating your things, and you see factions like, I think the Scarlet Crusade was there, and the Defiance Brotherhood were there. Basically, anybody and everybody who ever hated the orcs, and that wanted like the glory of the Arafi to rise up, they were there to cause trouble again. Which, you know, I don't think was necessarily a big issue. But what happens is that the cutscene that's gone viral is that we do what we normally do, which is bring swift justice to whoever caused the problem. We take care of the bad guy, we swing for their heads. And in this case, Trollbane rises up, and Trollbane has a history of not exactly being the most peaceful, but okay, the man is getting older, and he is like, no, we're not going to kill my niece. You, Farron Lothar, are going to go down in the history books for sparing her life. And that is the story that we're going to be telling here today. And there are several things with this moment, because they then just let his niece walk away. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, first of all, why do we not just kill her? Second of all, we started this quest line with her in prison. Should you not put her back in jail like the first time that you did? And nah, they just let her walk away. And she has this dialogue where she's like, this isn't over. And it's like, really? Really? And you're just gonna let her walk away? Okay. But then there's the issue, the overarching issue of, okay, who the fuck cares that Farron Lothar let her walk away? You gotta imagine, this is the first time Farron leaves Hollowfall since she was a child. Who on Azeroth is gonna go like, oh, did you hear? Farron Lothar let her walk away. Really? Who is that? And it is like, and they do, and it's okay. And it's like, and the quality of the cutscene, like, for that, I would say, like, it's an in-between patch. I can write that off. But just the quality of the storyline, I'm like, what are we doing here? What is this story? You had such potential with Farron, and the very first mission that you put her out on, you put her on this pedestal of you are going to decide history on Azeroth, and it's like, you want to take those steps. And that's, for me, is just so very disappointing, because I was actually very interested and excited about this character. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this just happened. And then you might say, well, you know, maybe Trollbane has changed his mind. Maybe he doesn't want to kill anyone anymore. But let me tell you, there's gonna be a mission where he's just like, ooh, this faction is evil. We should take care of their leader. And I'm just sitting there like, yes, yeah, that is a good way of getting.
All right, we found Nobble's sore spot here.
Oh man, it just sucks. And what I dislike the most about this is that this is the stuff that gets viral. Because overarchingly, I thought that the war with him was kind of solid. You had your dippy moments, you had your good moments, but overall it was kind of solid. But these are the moments that like rise up and go around the internet. And it's like, what do you think about this storyline? And you can only go like, yeah, that's really bad. Like, yeah.
It's how would you have done it if you could just make a change?
Okay, so I wouldn't have given Farron the shining role as in I am the one who's going to fix this. I would give that more to the people on the ground. Like the Magor orcs have a moment to shine, or bring out more of the surrounding factions that are there. Because, but okay, then you wanted to make a human orc conflict, because what they want to do is do a building block for when we go to the Arathi Empire. Because in essence, what they are building up to is that the glory of the Arathi. It's basically human supremacy. It's. They also mention this in dialogue, is that when our new allies go back to the Empire, most of our people are not going to be so kind to us. We should already prepare for the time that we, as the Arathi, are going to turn against our allies. So, more often than not, mostly I would say, like, okay, they're doing the building blocks of, yeah, we made some friends amongst the Arathi, but they will definitely be more hostile towards us, and that's not bad. I leave my question marks as to, okay, why do you let your cousin walk away? Why not just put her back in jail? Or why did you describe Trollbane as somebody who all of a sudden is not in favor of ending our enemy? Because this was the guy that was in Battle for Azeroth. He was fighting at the Warfront, and he was like, we're gonna kill you, orcs. We're just gonna kill you, greenskins. And it's like, okay. And if you want characters to have a certain new mindset, which is not bad, mind you, change is not bad.
Yeah.
But if you want characters to change, you have to take us through those steps. And if you're going to take somebody who you've described as being part A, and now you're making them part X, you need to let people know, like, okay, how did they get to that part, right? Because otherwise people are going to be like, well, we got Dreadlords in the universe. Is that really that guy? And especially when you turn him back into part A again in the next, but that's neither here nor there. Beyond that, like, to the quests, yeah, like I said, I would put different characters in there. And that whole for Arator cutscene and then letting her walk away, that would not have been part of it. And then, yeah, absolutely build up that the Empire, the Arathi Empire as old, that those vibes are still there, I suppose. Like, that history is still there.
Yeah.
I think that would make it a lot better. And like I said, let Farron earn her stripes instead of making her a pivotal moment in Warcraft's history. Like, the world is going to tell your story. And it's like, the world doesn't know who she is yet.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly just feels almost like it's just rushed. Like they know what they want to do, but they just execute it poorly, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of, honestly, there's a lot of that going around where you're like, okay, I can see where you want to take this, but it deserves more development and more time to get there.
Yeah, because it was probably a good point to bring up, where recently we've had a lot of people being like, the story has been Disney-ified. It's for babies, and it's for, like Marvel, Disney story, like all this stuff. And like, I heard that and I was like, I don't even think that's true. It's to me, it's like somewhat true to an extent, but there's still a lot of like really great story stuff. It's just, to me, a lot of the great story is like the side quests and like the things that aren't the main story. Like for example, we had the Tuskarr story in Dragonflight with what's his name, the blue dragon guy, Malygos. Yeah. I love that story. Like, I love the Tuskarr. They did the whole like the Viking funeral thing for the Tuskarr dude. I was like, this is crazy. But like, to me, the overarching premise of that was Malygos being like friendship, and I was like whatever. Like, I didn't even care about that part. I care just about like the Tuskarr part. Or like, for example, in the War Within, we had that the dementia kind of storyline, right? Where we see that the one dude, and like we see how he just keeps losing his mind. He's like, yeah, like it's gonna happen, and then you see it happen, and you're like, dude, that's great. Like, that storyline alone had more emotion than any main storyline they've done, right? Like, it's and so like the stuff's there. Like, they have deep topics. Some people are like, I wish we covered like deep topics and stuff. Like, they are. It's just it's buried within the side quests and like the other stuff going on, and not the main one.
What's interesting is that like there are a lot of things to be said about this whole Disneyfication thing, and obviously it comes up quite a bit. And I've been told that there's like different layers to it. So some are literally just looking at the art style and they're like, it looks like Frozen.
Right.
If we're just talking about the art style, I would say that WoW always has had many different kind of art styles. You got the cutscenes that they do these days. You got the more realistic CGI ones that they use. You got the animations that they use. So the art style is diverse. and sometimes also used in a more mature way. Think, for example, the Zolotov animations. As you mentioned, WoW definitely has darker topics, and what's interesting is that when a darker topic is placed in the forefront, for example, the opening cinematic of The War Within, where Enwin is dealing with severe trauma from the Shadowlands, where he was used and abused and forced to do things against his will. He has a deep conversation with Thrall, where he's like, I'm not that man anymore, and that performance, that facial expressions, which in my opinion is some of the more beautiful cutscenes that they put out, that reception is he should just man up. So, okay, so when we're dealing with more serious topics, it's also not well received. So what's going on there? Then more recently, I've seen people pull out like folks and fairy tales, which is somewhat of an off-spin of the Warcraft story. Like, yes, it's taken in the Warcraft universe, but it's more in a fairy style kind of way. In a similar way where we've gotten... oh god, there was once upon a time like the Adventure series. It's more aimed at children book, and you even got like Warcraft children tales, or more recently the housing trailer that was, there's the whole fighting thing, and then she cheers on like, "Ooh, I got a housing artifact." And to that also, the criticism is like, look at WoW being Disneyfied, but one of them is literally a housing trailer. It's not the story; it's a housing trailer, and the other ones are, yes, it's Warcraft universe, but it's aimed at a different demographic. So all of that, I'd be like, those are not exactly arguments I would say like, okay, WoW is being Disneyfied. Then one that I would say is if we go back to, for example, the ending of Dragonflight, where we have the dragon aspect standing in a circle and they're all finishing each other's sentences and they're all talking about, we should all just hold hands and we love each other and maybe we always loved each other. Maybe this is just how we always should supposed to be. And when I look at that cutscene, I'm like, yeah, that is very gentle writing and very that for me is the prime example of Disneyfication.
Yeah.
But as you said, there are multiple stories in the Warcraft universe that are being played out, and there are multiple ways of doing it. For me personally, like when it comes to the Disneyfication thing, I'll let people have their own opinions on it. When I look at WoW, what I think and what I miss are two topics. One of them is the balance when it comes to storytelling. For me, WoW has always had the emotional stories. From a Thrall and Garrosh yelling at each other in the Grand to my son when you were born, the Forest of Lordaeron whispered your name. The heart is what made a story impactful. But what Warcraft always did well and what they knew was that action, that explosion, that raging half-naked orcs that were beating the crap out of each other as they were accusing each other. That action. And I feel like WoW needs to lean more into that action again. That is something that I've been missing since Battle for Azeroth. Like, yes, there are action moments like Dalaran blowing up, but the impact just isn't there as it used to be. And I don't know why that balance is gone, but for me, it's a balance thing. It's not that they do emotional things. I just want to see the more explodey, epic things. And I personally think that it has to do with them looking at Final Fantasy and going like, people really love the emotional, deep diving story. But I'm personally of the mindset that WoW's player base is more in the direction of one-liners and more in the direction of things that you pick up quickly. Because a lot of people don't consume the level of story on knowing all the chronicles and knowing all the books and knowing all the history. No, they live in the moment that you present them now. So make it flashy, but also give the depth for those that enjoy it. They've always been able to do that, and that is what I'm missing. Now, that said, I've mentioned the Liadrin animation with Zolotov and Arator. For me, the Liadrin animation that they've last week is perfection. That is, for me, the perfect balance between an emotional, heartfelt storytelling and the action that I'm missing. And for me, if they can keep up that quality for Warcraft, I'm very much looking forward to it. So that's part of it. That's the balance. And then the other part is faction identity. And with that, I mean that a lot of things are being, I don't know the English terms for it, but a lot of things are being put into a pot and we're all the same. So the Alliance and the Horde, that does not exist anymore. We're just heroes of Azeroth now. The Elves of Silvermoon, just let the Alliance in there as well. Gilneas, let the Horde in as well. I am missing the feeling about when I made my first character, it mattered if I chose to be a Horde or it mattered if I chose to be Alliance. Both of them offered very different values and experiences and a place in the world. And it mattered what side you chose. Now, for those who are listening, it's not the faction war that I miss. I don't care if I'm bashing your skull in on the battleground. There is more to faction pride and being part of a faction than not being the other guy.
Right.
I want I want them to do stories like, what does it mean to be a Forsaken in Warcraft, or a human, or a Worgen? And I get it. Like, development-wise, it's really difficult to give individual experiences and give, like, an experience for the Horde and for the Alliance. They used to. They even in Legion, they gave, like, class experiences, and then it became faction experiences. And now it's just one road for everybody with some small quest here and there.
Right.
I miss that more unique experience. It gave you a reason to play alts. It gave you a more grounded place in the world. I get why it's happening, but that is a big part of what I miss as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think that's, like, to me, that's kind of what it's all about. Like, World of Warcraft, like the world of Warcraft. Like, we're in this world, and there's so many different races and so many different factions and so many different things. And it's like, it really does feel like they saw Final Fantasy stuff and they were just like, what if we were like that? And the problem is when you try to be something else like that, then it just feels like a worse version of the thing you're trying to be. And
yeah,
so,
when it comes to Final Fantasy 14, it's very much like 14, for those who've never played, 14 is very much about the story as you level up. Like, I would say that there's more story than gameplay. Whereas in WoW, it's always been the other way around. Like, WoW, the story came as like a cherry on top, but what you log in for, what is offered, is the gameplay. Now, you could definitely make the argument, like, yeah, that can change. Like, they could focus on the story, which I agree with. But then you need to look more than just, oh, yeah, we're going to tell a story now. You need to look at the bones of how you deliver the story. So in Final Fantasy 14, they will just put you in place, play out a cutscene, and dialogue and voice acting. You can't move, you can't play. You literally, you have to follow the story. But in WoW, can you imagine the uproar from people like, hey, look, I need to get to max level. I need to get my gear. What is this? I don't want to listen to them talking. So now what happens is that they still try to give you that very epic and heavy storytelling of, oh man, my mom and dad are getting a divorce and I hate this. And meanwhile, I'm like, listen, I need to take care of this threat right here that is about to destroy the world. Sucks. Like, I get it. Your family setting is awful, but I'm busy right now. And I've been asked, like, okay, how would you do that better? And I think stay a while and listens are great. I think moments where you go into a bar and you could just sit down with the NPCs and they can talk to you. I think that would be a lot better utilized than in the middle of questing and the middle of the gameplay.
yeah.
Like, they haven't adjusted the gameplay. Yeah, and not to say that I haven't done great change in that one as well, because one of the big things in the War Within, what I thought was really cool, is that the main campaign has been shortened. You know, you want to get the max level, you want to blast, we know our audience, just go. And then the side quests are much more extensive and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
You can also do a lot more click-through and a lot more stay a while and listen, a lot more dialogue. But there's still quite a few moments that I'm like, okay, this is not the time for this NPC to start laying down their life story on me. As well as, again, I want that action as well, right? I'm looking more for the one-liners. Like, back with Legion with Illidan, like, how many one-liners did Illidan not drop that are still being quoted to this day? That man was a one-line machine.
Yeah.
And I feel that WoW, the story of WoW, thrives in that kind of setting. That's what their powerhouse is at, not the deeper ones. Like, for me, I'm a big fan of the lore, and I will go hammy on the deeper ones. But in general, I would say they fall more in line with the one-liners.
Yeah. I mean, I also think a lot of the lore, to me, it's more fun when it's, like, mysterious. Like, for example, we had the old gods back in the day, right? And there's, like, mystery to the old gods. Like, oh, man, like, I don't really know much about them. They're, like, whispering to people. They're, like, you know, we'd see them in raids, like Cthulhu or Yogg-Saron, and even then, you're just like, but we didn't really know that much about them. Just, like, these are insane. And now it's just, like, yeah, we beat them, you know, and it's just, like, all right. And then it's like, oh, yeah, like, what about, like, Sargeras or, like, the Titans? And it's like, yeah, we beat them. And it's just like, if we keep defeating these, like, insane beings, it's like you hit a point where you're just like, I don't care. Like, we've already defeated, like, but it's like, no, but really, like, they're getting to be really crazy beings you're gonna defeat now. And it's like, sometimes you just want to go to the Undermine and, like, help an uprising, you know? It's, or, like, there's, like, so many other, like, little, not even, like, little side quests, like, main storyline type stuff, like Undermine, where it's like, it is its own storyline, but it's like, I think people want that more than just, like, I'm a super powerful hero going through a power fantasy that just has to, like, keep doing this. I think that's one of the reasons people enjoy the lore of Classic WoW, is because there really isn't a main lore in Classic WoW. It's you are on the hero's journey, and you quest, and you level up, and you become your own hero, and then you go into the world of Warcraft, right? And there's obviously, like, Ragnaros and Molten Core, like Blackwing Lair, and all this stuff. Like, there's lore there, but it more so feels like you're on a journey and you're adventuring and learning these things and growing instead of just like, I am super powerful hero that is going to do these super powerful hero things.
And yet, in Classic, you also took on one of the old gods and defeated them.
Yeah. But I think it's not as insane because that was like a one-off experience. And it's like when you do it over and over and over again, that's when it kind of loses its luster.
Oh, okay, so there's like, this is something I was unable to sleep the other day, and I actually took like a voice memo of this, because I was talking about the lore and how difficult must it be to keep a world going for like 20, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And we've spoken about how other universes have like a long-standing history with the universe, but they are not MMORPGs. I think WoW is one of the few that are going on for this long, and like, where do you take the storyline? And I think when it comes to like the cosmic hero and the power upgrades, I think that's how you end up with something like the first ones back in Shadowlands, where they were like, okay, we've basically emptied the well of Warcraft 3. We dealt with old gods and with the Burning Legion. Hell, we've imprisoned Sargeras. I'm personally of the mindset that a good dot behind the story of the Legion, with maybe a major time skip or a major universe change or something, would have been wonderful. But, that's not the world that we live in. We got Battle for Azeroth, and then we got the Shadowlands. And I think with the Shadowlands, they tried to put a dot behind it, which we didn't. So maybe after the World Soul Saga, they could put like a dot. Because I think you are right when it comes to doing these things over again. It loses the impact and its luster. You could tell this with like N'Zoth back at Battle for Azeroth, like an old god out of prison on the loose, and they're like, yeah, we took care of that in a patch. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we did. Cool. Good job, everybody. We could go home now. It's awesome. So there's definitely that power creep, but then there's the idea of more grounded stories back in Classic. And I wonder how much of that is, the new, the world is still to be explored, right? It hasn't been done that much. You're still at ground level. Because I also remember a lot of quests that are just like, hey, listen, right? I live in this hut in the Barrens and I'm very hungry. Can you go get me 20 bear asses, 14 hooves, and like maybe a picture of a turtle all the way in the hinterlands? That would be great. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Warcraft, and there was definitely story in Warcraft in Classic as well.
No, there's some
more in the idea.
quests.
There was also that, and also the newly discovery of it. But then again, as you mentioned, the grounded stories, you don't, and I've always held on to this opinion, the threat of an expansion does not have to be space Satan. A fire-breathing dragon can be just as threatening to you and your people and the world. A goblin in a mech suit can be just as threatening and destroying as a first one. It's just a matter of how do you present it and what do you let the heroes do.
What was the Thunder King in Pandaria is one I've seen brought up a lot, right? Where he's just like a one-off villain, right? You don't see him anywhere else. It's just Pandaria. It's just in the I forgot what the raid's called, but
Throne of Thunder.
Yeah, Throne of Thunder. And like, that's cool. Like, you fight a one-off guy, you're like, cool, we stopped him, and that's it. Like, he doesn't have to be some insane super world god that's trying to destroy the world. He's just like, he's the Thunder King. Like,
it's funny that you said he actually that example. He actually took the powers of Amantul, like one of the Titans.
Oh well.
But I will say that impression that you have of the Thunder King, meaning that he's more grounded, means that you are much more connected to this guy. That he is much more realistic in the sense of the storytelling and how. Like, for me, Pandaria is one of the best expansions that they've done with the world building and storytelling and bringing something unique and fresh to the table. Not to mention that the Throne of Thunder still has one of the best intro cinematics that exist, with Lord Walker Cho laying down some fat beats. But yeah, Thunder King, a really, really good example on how you could do it, right?
Yeah. Because, I mean, again, it's not even that I have the problem of these things existing. It's just I think they go about executing it improperly. Plus, and then, like I said, now it's just been like so overdone. People just want something new, I would say, more than anything. But I also think that the power of Arthas, I think a lot of people's favorite villain is Arthas, and I think that's for a few reasons. I think one is you had Warcraft 3 to flesh out his story, and you got to play as him and really get involved as Arthas and what he's like and all this stuff. But then you also had like the difficult choices he had to make, which I think made him more real. Where you're just like, you had the Stratholme, and he's just like, I gotta go do this, and they're just like, I can't watch you do this, Arthas, right? And there's people that are just like, no, I would have done what Arthas did, and then people like, I would have never done what Arthas did. But it made you decide, and it added that human element to Arthas of like, he's just this guy trying to do what he thinks is best, whether you agree with him or not. And then, obviously, after that, then he starts going a little crazy, and then he's like, I want vengeance, and then it starts, you know, corrupting him, and then there's all the, you know, the helmet and the sword and like all the other stuff that plays its part. But like, you have that emotional stability, like, or not stability, but like the base to work with, where you're like, I remember Arthas when he was good, I remember playing as him, and then you watch him get corrupted, and you're like, dude, now we're going to Northrend, and this is where Arthas is, and I remember him, and like, you can feel Arthas just in every little piece of Northrend, even when you go to the dungeons, and they're just like, my liege, blah, 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 right, and all that stuff, and it's just like you feel his presence, and then you work through the zone, and it feels like, all right, here we go, we're gonna hit the tip of the iceberg now. We're fighting Arthas, quite literally. And then you do it. And it's just, like, I think that's why that villain arc and expansion felt so good. Is like, it just had the right amount of, like, everything.
Yeah, and as you said, also, like, you are so connected to Arthas because of the RTS setting, because you know him so intricately. And as I said, like, they kind of emptied the well of things that they could pull upon from Warcraft 3. So then the question becomes, like, okay, do you need an RTS in order to tell a proper story? And I don't think that's the case.
No.
Looking at Mr. Pandaria, I feel like they've done a fantastic job with building up that world and that area and the bosses. But also someone like Garrosh Hellscream, who has been built up primarily in World of Warcraft. It can be done, but I think that goes back to a point that you made earlier, which is the pacing, which is allowing something to breathe and grow. Not so much that the conclusion is the problem, but more so how do you develop and how do you build it up?
Yeah, and like you said, I think they can do it in game. Like, I think there's numerous ways they can do it. Like, you could have them, you know, be a part of your questing experience. It could be something even where it's not even expected. Like, you're just questing with some guy, and you're just like, all right, some guy, and then they turn out to be the important quest person. You're just like, oh shit, I didn't realize that. It almost feels like a lot of the stuff now is just very predictable, or it has a lot of predictability to it, where it's like, for example, we had the cinematic for Midnight, where there's the Sunwell and all the elves and stuff, and it just felt kind of like, a lot of people liked it, but to me, I was just kind of like, whatever. And part of the reason I thought that was, it just felt like another Marvel-y type of thing. Like, to me, that was very Marvel-y Disney, where it's like, oh no, we're getting attacked in the Sunwell, and then it's like, but we have the Blood Elves, and then they're just like, yeah, and it's like, bam, 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 like Overwatch music plays or something. Like, and I'm just like, I wanted something crazy to happen. Like, I wanted Xal'atath to show up, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and then they're like, you know what, we have the elves. Then she just like kills somebody, and she's like, yeah, whatever. Like, yeah. And then you're like, oh shit, like, she's not messing around, like that type of thing. Like, that's kind of what I was hoping for. That doesn't mean that, you know, they should listen to me, but like, that's because I just want to be like, I'm a big person for like twists, or like, oh shit, I didn't expect this, or like, wow, this character is more powerful than we thought. It just feels like, when you see that, when you see them just be like, yeah, we have, it's like, okay, so they're gonna join up, they're gonna defeat her, and then that's it. Like, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's very fair to say. I will say, like, part of me agrees. Like, yes, I would love for them to take those risks again, to do the darker stuff. At the same time, I love the cinematic because it like, I compared it to the War Within intro cinematic, which was very much a emotional piece, like a lot of speech, a lot of talk, and then we queue up to the sword that didn't go anywhere. Whereas this one was like, but maybe that's also because I'm very much connected to the story of Liadrin, because I loved how at the beginning Liadrin is praying to the Sunwell, and Liadrin has like this dark history with the Sunwell where they drained the Naru, and she doesn't dare to reach out fully because she's like, my actions are impardonable and I've done some terrible stuff. And then for the sake of her people, she lets go of pretense, and she honestly calls from her heart, and the army pops out. In the same vein where like Lorfmar is like, you can't even take out one elf, what do you mean, Xal'atath? That kind of stuff blew was for me was really, really cool. But at the same time, as you mentioned, the the risk of, okay, you're showing off Zolotov, but why doesn't she just instantly wipe everybody out if she's just this powerful being? Or how cool would it have been if she actually ate somebody or took somebody out? Definitely a point to be made there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think and some of that ties back even then with the Arathi stuff, where it's like characters start doing things where you're just like, they wouldn't have done that. And that starts bleeding into like late season Game of Thrones, where the characters just started doing shit, and you're just like, I don't think they would have did that. And George R. R. Martin's just like, yeah, they wouldn't have done that. And you're just like, oh, okay. Like when characters start doing things that aren't really believable or don't really fit them, or feel like they're just kind of, you know, shoehorning the thing in just to fit their narrative, that's when characters start falling apart and story starts falling apart, because you lose trust in the writer of like, why should I trust them to do anything else if they're just gonna like Deus Machina stuff?
Yet at the same time, and this is something that's, I mean, I full on agree, and I've made this very much time as well. But this is something that I thought about the other day, which is how difficult it must be for this writing team that they got, in order to keep up with all the intricacies of the lore and all the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the big beats. Like in the big beats, I feel like the characters should behave in a certain way. But like the lore accuracy must be incredibly difficult to keep up with. Now, that's not an excuse, and I still think that treating your universe with, like, if you care about your universe and how you build it up, then you make the audience care. And if you just do whatever you want in order to tell the story that you want to tell today instead of the story that you told before, and that way it's like the question becomes like, okay, what am I supposed to invest in? Because this world is very fluid. It can become anything, and sometimes it becomes something that people just don't enjoy anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's fine. Like, not everybody's gonna like everything, and it's almost they just had that interview too, where they were just like, you know, how do we like please everybody? Essentially, like our audience is older,
you
but
never
we need
will,
to bring
yeah.
in younger. And it's like you're not gonna please everybody, right? So it's like you may as well please the people that still play your game or like enjoy playing it and stuff like that.
Well, that's the so my and this also goes back to your earlier point of they need to do something new, and for me, I'm like, I get that you wanna, like, I get that the 20 years of Warcraft, the people have changed, the world has changed, everybody has changed, right?
Mhm.
And so you want to cater to a new audience, but then why do you use the stories that came before? Why not make something new? Why not have new characters, new leaders, new something? Because at the same, and I can answer my own question, it's because known faces sell games. That's why
Yeah.
Thrall was on the box art, but he didn't do anything. That's why they put Sylvanas up in the Legion trailer. Like, I get it. People like their familiar characters and you pull them in with. But if you want to tell the new stories and be brave and bold into your universe, why not make something new? I like I said, I would very much appreciate if they actually put a dot behind something and go like, okay, and now we're gonna put a Chandris in the front light, or now we're gonna put a Lillian Voss, or any of the new generation that can, you know, get their own new stories instead of adding another 5 pages to Thrall's Wikipedia page that's already 50 pages long.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it gives you more freedom to do what you want.
Yeah.
It allows you to tell the story you want to tell. And then on
Yeah,
top of
you
that,
don't have
it's
to worry
just,
about, is it accurate? Yeah.
like, and I feel like so many people are just tired of the same names and stuff too. Like, it's like, here's another Windrunner. And I'm like, dude, I just don't care. Like, I don't even dislike the Windrunners at this point. I just don't care. Because it's like they're just constantly there. I get that it's probably some people's favorite, but I'm just like,
Yep.
man, I just whatever. Like, and it's kind of like the old god stuff or any of that. It's just like we do it over and over and over, and I'm like, dude, I just just something new, like please. And I think that's what a lot of people want, just something new.
And I think that's why stories like the Urvan with their dementia storytelling, that hits a little bit harder, because the Urvan, somewhat of a new race introduced, and you get to learn more about, okay, what has life been for them? Maybe something like the Arathi Empire that could pull people in. Like, I would be very interested in seeing actually new stuff build up in that way.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what they come up with.
Because I think that also, it gives you that element of learning and exploration, because now you have this new race, this new area, and you're like, oh, we are learning about them and like learning what they do. It's almost like when we go to some of these new zones and it's like we learn about the kobolds, right? And they're just like, we live here, blah, blah, blah. Or like you learn about like all these little races and factions, and it's like, that's always great, and I love that. But then it's like we go back to the overarching theme, and it's just like, here's the same characters with names and stuff and everything. Like, I don't know. And, you know, I mean, Xalatath, I guess, is somewhat newer. Like, obviously, Legion. Well, I say newer. It's like 10 years already.
She could be newer, but like we also spoke about the parallels between her and the Jailer and another force that's coming for the world. Like we've also had the Legion that was coming for Azeroth, and like how many forces have come for that soul in the world? Yeah, it's a new character, but until they start giving her like new motivations, it's still very much in line with, oh, a big threat is coming for the world. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and that's mainly my point. Is like it's like what's her motivation? Like does she have an interesting motivation that drives her all these things? Because otherwise, it is just like here's a Dark Lord. You know, it's just it's just like they're evil because they're evil. It's like I think most people enjoy villains where they have this like morally gray area, kind of like Arthas had, even though he did, you know, eventually go insane and more very evil. But like he had his point where he was a good person and like he just kind of got warped. And so I think it's fun to just see that and add that human element and just be like, man, yeah. Like I remember when this guy was good and like, you know, he got corrupted, but now we got to take him out. And it's like there's that adds the meaning to it to me.
Yeah, and also why that happened. But I think it's also good to keep in mind, like with so many people, so many different opinions when what it is that they want from the storyline. Because you mentioned like, you know, enough of the Windrunners. Yeah. And I know a whole demographic that cannot get enough of the Windrunners. And they're like, please put more Farisa and Sylvanas in. So in that way, back to the interview that Blizzard has done, 100% you cannot please everybody. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
But like I said, for me, I would be a big fan of just putting a dot behind something and try to expand and build something new. If they could pull out a Mr. Pandaria, that would be awesome. But let's also not, you know, let's not forget that Blizzard Entertainment as a whole has massively changed over the years.
Yeah. So with all that being said, where are we going with Midnight now? Like, what do we know so far? What's kind of the main story here going into this with the Sunwell and everything?
Right. So for those who are like, okay, are we gonna get full on spoilers? I'll stick to what they've used in like promotional materials so far. But if you're not up to speed as to if you've kept yourself clean, then I will be talking a little bit about like the introduction for Midnight. What we've seen is that Illyria Windrunner, she's gone. Okay, so they've done a book called Blood Ties, which goes about Turellian, Illyria, and Arator. Turellian and Illyria are old Alliance heroes that eventually joined the Army of the Light, and we met them back in Legion. And Turellian is all about the light, Illyria is all about the voids, and in between there's the son Arator. He got a really funky new haircut, bald head with like dragon tattoos and all that. I might cosplay him at some point. And they are having family trouble. Because, you know, mom and dad are all about the war and the battle, and Arator was born in the midst of war. So their family unit is not doing so great. And Arator is very much of, you know, the Windrunners. They were pretty great defenders of the world once upon a time. So, in the book, his mom steps away from the family, despite Arator going like, please, mom, don't leave me, I love you. And she's like, no, I must do the hunt alone. And Turellian went like, please, my beloved, together we can make it work. And she's like, no, I must hunt alone. It's like, okay. So she went away. And then in one of the epilogue quest lines, Arator was very much like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to recruit the Windrunner sisters in order to save the world. So there's his Auntie Farisa, the one who raised him when his parents were gone. And she has like this whole vision of darkness coming for Silvermoon and the Sunwell, and you know, bad things are coming. And so he goes and he tries to recruit his mom, Illyria, who is very much on the hunt of Xel'Atath. And she tells him like, no, I'm going to hunt Xel'Atath. And then he's like, if you don't come with me, I'm going to go into hell. And I'm going to go ask Sylvanas. And for those unaware, Sylvanas burned down Teldrassil and did a whole bunch of crimes. And she's now serving her time in hell. Literal Warcraft hell. She is sending all these souls back. And she's not allowed to leave hell until she's, you know, done her sentence. But to Arator, that doesn't matter. We could just bring Sylvanas out of hell. And, you know, talking about the story like this, it kind of becomes like, what do you mean you go into hell? What is this? What is this universe? But yeah, okay, this is what happens, okay? So we go into hell, and we ask Sylvanas to help, and Sylvanas is like, okay, look at what I've been doing here. So she shows us a really beautiful quest line where she shows us like, you know, I've been sending all these souls back up for judgment. And then she says what I was thinking, which I love. I really, really love. she tells Adator, like, look, what do you think is gonna happen if I go out of jail, if I go out of hell? Obviously, everybody's gonna like, why is she out of hell? She's supposed to serve her sentence,
Yeah.
and war is gonna break out. You want me to help? I would just cause more trouble. And he's like, but you're a Windrunner. And she's like, you're a Windrunner too, you know, you could do it. And he's like, I could do it? All right, I could do it. So he's gonna defend the Sunwell. But I do think those are building blocks for like bringing Sylvanas into the story at some point, I think. So yeah, he's done that, and then we get a cutscene of Illyria getting closer to Zolotov, and she jumps through a gateway. She jumps into the Void Storm, where Zolotov is hiding, and the Void Storm is basically her base of operations. And from it, we can see that Zolotov is emptying out the Dark Heart, that trinket that she filled up with like Dementius and the Locust Walker and everybody else that she ate. All the power that she gathered, she uses it to make a big old spire, and she's like, clock strikes 12 and I'm gonna claim my prize. Midnight arise. And she makes ready to come for Azeroth. And we're like, oh my god, it is time for the second expansion. So that cutscene ended. And then we basically go into the... well, timeline-wise, not so much, but let's do it. Then we go into the intro cutscene for Midnight, where, as you talked about it, we see Zolotov coming for the Sunwell, Lialdrin does her prayer, and then Marvel Disney moments, you know, reinforcements arrive, and they stand in the defense of it. And that's basically where our Midnight adventure begins. As Lialdrin calls it for reinforcements, the defenders of Azeroth need to come in. Beyond that, we've gotten those 3 animations. So we gotten one where they talk about Adator's history and how he stands between, how he feels like divided, light and dark, you know, between his parents. We've got one where they showed a glimpse of Zolotov's past, like what she was, but still not full-on answers. And then the Lialdrin one, where they explain Lialdrin's backstory and also that she went to Alonce's Fall. And Alonce's Fall was, in human, he was like... When he was alive, he was like the leader of the Church of the Light, of the Holy Light, and he's the guy who made the Paladins for the Alliance. And then he died, and there's like this mysterious secret war that he was a part of, but he came back as a Forsaken, right? And he was the one who in Legion told the priest, like, hey, go get your artifact, go get Zolotov, Blade of the Black Empire. So there's that. And she's like, hey, come help us out, you know, darkness is coming for the Sunwell. And they use that opportunity to talk about Lialdrin's backstory. And yeah, that's kind of where we are. So Zolotov and her army is coming for the powers of the Sunwell for some reason. And then, you know, for her prize, which is potentially, most likely, Azeroth's World Soul. A big old source of power in the planets. Why does she want it? To be decided. Maybe she loves Azeroth very much. We do not know.
I see. Okay, so... we're just kind of at the point where we just gotta wait and see for the expansion to unfold of like why she's doing all this, what her motivations are, and hopefully they are something where we're like, damn, all right, I get it.
Hopefully, yes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so in that direction, by the way, there are some cool things that they could do. So something that we learned in the War Within, and we dove into the archives. And in the archives, we learned more about the history of Azeroth and the Titans. So, once upon a time, we learned that the Titans, they are like these big old deities. They showed up to Azeroth, and at the time, this planet was full-on infected by the old gods. Like, you gotta imagine creepy tentacle monsters all over the place. And the Titans, they brought order to the planet, right? That's always what we've been told. Like, ooh, Titans, how nice of you. So they saved the World Soul from the Void's influence. But as it turns out, it wasn't so much like saving it from the old god's influence. It's more like new management, you know? Because we learn in the archives that they've taken the World Soul and they placed it in like a protective core. And they say that they did that because they want to keep her safe from the corruption. But Azeroth wasn't happy about this. And that's why she started to influence the Irvin and try to get them to smash open that containment, that core. And that is why the Titans came up with this whole system of uploading the memories and refreshing themselves, that whole system that eventually break down. They did that because Azeroth was trying to break free, right? Mm-hmm. So the question becomes like, okay, what is up with the Titans? And why did they prevent Azeroth from being free? What is it that the Titans want Azeroth for? Because now we've got like the Void is coming for this World Soul, but the Titans also want this World Soul. And we already know from their presentation that the last expansion is going to be like the last Titan, and we're going to see like the return of the Titans. So how is that going to play with Zolotov? And I don't know. We're gonna find out.
Interesting, because I was very intrigued when they were like, we're going to do this 3-part structure, right? And now we've kind of talked about how the first part almost feels like it was just like, all right, Xal'atath, we still don't know why she's doing this, but it's kind of, set up for whatever's going to happen in the second part. So it almost feels like the second part here has to be something kind of crazy. Not even crazy, but just like eye-opening, or like, wow, okay, like to really set up the final part, right?
Yeah, you hope so, yeah.
Because otherwise, like, we can't just go into the final part being like, I wonder what Xal'atath wants again. Like, that would be
if that's
insane.
gonna be the case, woof. Can you imagine? But I mean, it's not impossible, right? And that might be, But then again, I don't know if they would, because we also have like Iridicron from Dragonflight, who is like, "Ooh, I hate the Titans. I'll see you again when the Titans come back." It's like, oh, okay. So they already have like a pretty popular bad guy that people want to see make a return, or a bad guy, the antagonist, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. But
So they don't necessarily need to hold on to Xal'atath, but yeah. For all we know, Xal'atath is actually a piece of Azeroth's soul, and she's trying to set herself free again. Who knows?
that'd be cool. I like that. That'd be fun. So yeah, I mean, is there any other stuff you want to mention about the upcoming expansion that we didn't really cover?
I mean, it's gonna have trolls in it. The Amani are gonna be playing a part, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that's
genuinely, like everybody's gonna have their own opinions on it. But I actually had a blast playing through the campaign, and especially the Amani surprised me a lot. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who just flies around the zones and explores stuff, like, all the zones seem really cool. The only one I didn't really like was the Void Zone, because it kind of just seemed like evil Void place, like a Kalesh or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It just felt like an evil version of that, which, it's whatever. I mean,
like, not wrong.
Yeah, I like all the other zones, though. Like, they're very cool, unique. Especially, Eversong Woods even was really neat. So I'm excited to just play through those and see all that. I was gonna ask the Haranir. Is there like any cool lore about the Haranir, or like why are we seeing them?
Oh yeah. So the Haranir are a new race that they introduced with the War Within, and as I mentioned earlier, they were going to be playing a part in the War Within. They were kind of being set up, but that's been moved around. So okay, how do we explain this? Okay. We spoken about the Titans that were like, okay, we see the old gods infecting this world, and we're going to bring order to the planets. And during that battle, one of the old gods was ripped out of the world, that old god Yasharaj.
Yeah.
And as they ripped him out, they did a lot of damage to the planet. And then Azeroth started to bleed, and like her life essence started to spew out. So the Titans were like, the wounds, champ, you must heal the wounds. And the Titans were like, oh no, what have we done? So they had the keepers make like a band-aid, and the band-aid they called the Well of Eternity. And fun fact, the waters from the Well of Eternity are the waters that make the sun well, so there's like connection to Azeroth lifeblood there. But point being, over time, the so-called Dark Trolls found a way to this Well of Eternity, and they evolved into the Night Elves. And then Night Elves would become High Elves, would become Blood Elves, would become Nightborn and Void Elves. Like, Night Elves are like EVs of the WoW universe. But as it turns out, not only did those Dark Trolls become Night Elves, some of them already heard the voice of their goddess, and they decided to track down. And that is the origin of the Haranir. And in their society, they've decided, like, we're not going to interfere with those up above. We're going to chill down here. We're going to take care of the roots of the world trees. But amongst them is Orwenja. And Orwenja decided to go against her culture and actually interfere. She saw Xal'atath and she saw the blood of the old gods. And she was like, this is no good for Azeroth, okay? This is no good for the world. We need to do something. We need to do something for the goddess. And so she allied with us in Ashkahet. She saved the life of the Nerubians. She explained, like, this is what I'm about. Then she had visions about, okay, we need to go to Undermine now. And then we're going to be doing more. And the Haranir are connected to, like I said, the roots of the world trees. They're connected to their goddess. They're connected to nature. and we're gonna find out more about their connection and the Radiant Song and Azeroth and their goddess and how that all plays out as we join Orgrimmar into Harandar. And then we'll learn more about her people and all that good stuff.
Oh, okay. 'Cause I mean, I do think the Haranir in general and like the zone and stuff seem really cool. So it seems like they might be cool. They might they might not. I don't know. I mean, we're at the start of the expansion, so it just boils down to like we'll see how it all plays out for the most
I
part.
just at the very least hope that they're not gonna get the Irvin treatment, which is the Irvin were introduced as an allied race as well,
Yeah.
and then they did nothing else for the rest of the War Within.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame in my opinion. Like I at least hope that the Haranir are gonna be keeping doing something. And with everything, opinions are gonna be divided, right? Like for me, I thought it was pretty cool down there. I learned some really cool stuff.
Yeah, no, I really liked the Earthen. I thought they were cool, and I at first I was kind of like, whatever, like they're just rock dwarves. But I did actually end up liking the Earthen, and they're just kind of robotic, like we are the people of the like I don't know, I thought they were cool.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of forgot that they had the whole allied race intro scenario where they're like, yeah, we're the new people now. Because it's been a while ago. But yeah, like the introduction and as you said, they seemed very much like Irvin, but nah, they got their own whole system and personalities. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been talking a while, so we'll probably wrap it up here. But
yeah, my brand is still not max level. My brand is at like level 91 wolf.
Listen, I got my delve thing completed, so I got my brand transmog refire thing, so I can just turn it into brand. So
best toy.
It really is.
Oh, that thing is awful in raids, I swear.
Oh yeah, every time we do WoW mounts for our like Monday, every Monday we do like a stream WoW mount thing where we go to all the raids and try to get mounts, and we always do the brand transmogrifier thing. So it's just like a bunch of brands just being like, whoa, I should have got better gear, whatever the shit says. It's like flies, you're like, I should have brought better gear. That's what it is.
Oh man, I hope the new campaign is gonna be just as fun. I swear, it's just sassiness that sold him for me. The lines, it's great.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Delves were probably my favorite thing they added last expansion. I love delves; they were so good.
Yup.
And it seems like they're expanding upon them. So,
yeah, labyrinths or something, pretty cool.
Yeah, just like bigger delves or something, kind of like delve raids or whatever. Either way, where can we find you, Noble, to probably learn more about various topics that we discussed and more in depth?
Yeah, so if you want to find my lore channel, as we are going to be diving into all the stories that Midnight have, as well as a big old archive of the story that came before, just go to the YouTubes or the Google and type in Nobbel or Nobbel87 or Nobbel Warcraft lore, or that bald guy that talks about the lore a lot, and I'm sure that you find your way to me. Yeah.
All right. Well, we also have numerous other lore videos where we've discussed stuff on this channel as well. Just search lore for noobs. You'll find them. Or search
Don't
Noble.
forget about the Sloth Brew coffee over at the Dodgers Coffee Cafe. Yeah.
Yes, don't forget about that. And yeah, you got to stay awake for the new expansion. So
yeah, forget energy drink. Just get coffee. Yeah.
Personally, I drink coffee over energy drinks. I love coffee. Personal preference, but.
Nah, but thank you very much again. It's always a blast to talk about the lore with you. I'm so curious how we're going to be like this with like Midnight. Like, did we actually get some answers now? Are we ready for the last Titan?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm super curious.
I'm sure we'll do some, 6 months from now, we'll do another get together and we'll know more so we can talk about it then. So thank you very much. And I'll see you next time.
Till next time, guys. See ya.
See ya.